Hey everyone, it's Chris from Krisis Gaming, and this week I was tasked with trying to beat Fallout 4 without healing or curing radiation. Now, before we start, I have to set some rules for this one. Firstly, we can't heal using items, no food or stimpacks, and for radiation we can't use radaway, rad-x, or go to a doctor. That's the easy part. The difficulty wasn't specified, so I left everything on normal. However, there's one thing that wasn't specified while playing. In Fallout 4, you gain XP through literally everything, whether it's crafting, questing, or combat, and so naturally you're going to level up. In Fallout 4, when you level up, you regain all possible health not allocated to radiation. So throughout the run you'll notice my health seems to jump all over the place. I couldn't find a way to turn this off without using a mod, so the way I saw it was as the game went on the harder it would be to level up, meaning I'd have to do bigger and longer sessions without health. As always, I streamed all of this run on my Twitch channel, so if you want to see the struggles or join in on the next run this weekend, make sure to check the description for the link. With that out of the way, let's get into the video. First things first, I made my character, and I'm gonna have to download a mod because I can't make my characters pretty enough. And then I picked my stats. Okie dokie. So, basically what's gotta happen here is I actually spent a little bit this week making this up. So, luck and agility we don't actually need, whereas intelligence we're gonna need to go up to a 6. Because intelligence is going to give us the gun nut perk and science, so we can actually do upgrades on our power armor, and so we can upgrade our weapons. Whereas charisma, we're going to go up to a 3, because I figured if we take the lone wanderer perk, we'll be doing 50% more damage, but also we don't necessarily need companions, just to add that little extra oomph, if you will. Endurance also needs to be a 6. Basically, by this having a 6, we can get things like Aqua Boy, so we can swim without taking radiation, and just the overall rad resist perk. Perception needs to actually go to a 5. You could do Rifleman, Demolition Expert, just a bunch of extra stuff added for us. And then Strength we need to go for 3 for the Armor perk, so we can actually build the power armor that we get. This is actually pretty good. I didn't plan on having this much stats left over, so let's just do... Oh, an ability to sneak? I don't know, I guess we'll take the 3 in agility. Then came by far one of the hardest parts of the run. I wanted to take the Life Giver perk, and at this point in time, I told myself that if I got hit or took radiation damage, I wouldn't be able to do so. So I abused the quick save and worked my way through the vault, dodging roaches and shooting anything that moved. And after 30 minutes of struggles, I finally made it outside and at Cotsworth clear out Sanctuary while I got to making some sticks for XP. Even upgraded my gun a bit before heading out. Now that I had a grasp on my setup, I decided to start the Minutemen questline first while I was still low level. Also, it had a suit of power armor with my name on it, and I'm definitely gonna need that damage resistance. I cleared out the raiders in the Museum of Freedom and grouped up with the Minutemen, then headed straight to the power armor on the roof to clear the courtyard. It wasn't actually that bad. The rifle the Minutemen give you does decent damage against nobodies, but the real threat was the Deathclaw that shows up. It showed up early while I was on a rooftop and I did as much damage as I could, but after almost running out of all of my ammo, I jumped down with the minigun and got to fist fighting this lizard, losing about 20% of my health in the process. But the Minutemen were able to relocate to Sanctuary and I could start doing missions for them. Normally I would skip these as they're pretty much just killing tons and tons of raiders, but this time it was different. I got messed up outside just trying to get into Corvega, and then inside got absolutely blasted to the point I was one hit away from death. But luckily I was able to turn on a Securitron to thin out some raiders. But trying to do this at 1 HP was rough, and the following dance with mole rats that followed was just as bad. No, please stop. No! What the heck? Oh, we got absolutely blasted. Yikes. Yo, these mole rats, They go kind of hard. But I did get a level up, regaining my health. After doing some more Minutemen quests, I finally unlocked the quest to retake the castle, but since Diamond City was on the way, I figured I'd stop by since I would need that later on. Normally the walk through downtown Boston is pretty quiet, but I seem to get into fights almost every single street. Luckily it wasn't anything super scary and I eventually made it to Diamond City, but getting back on track. I made my way for the castle and got manhandled by a ton of ghouls on the way. But after putting down the horde of crackheads, I finally arrived at Mirelurk Central and the assault could begin. Let's just say I was really starting to notice how little damage my guns were doing. So if I hadn't have been for the 50 Molotovs I brought along, this may not have happened yet. But the Mirelurk Queen was a different story. Since I had lost a ton of health up to this point, if the queen landed her acid spit on me, I died. There was nothing I could do about it. If one of her babies came up and slapped me, I also died. I basically had to perch on a rooftop and take pot shots at her until I got brave enough to run in and use some grenades to finish her off. Once again, explosives saved the day. With the queen dead, the castle was now under Minutemen control. Now, with the Minutemen halfway done, I decided to go get Nick and progress the main quest some more. Except, I'm a dummy and tried to find Nick without going and talking to his secretary, which meant I got lost and got in a couple gunfights where I could have saved the health. But in the end, I did eventually talk to Ellie and head to Vault 114. I had my power armor on and thought this place would be a breeze, except as usual, it was a struggle. For the triggermen not actually wearing armor, they take tons of damage and dish out so much more. Even in power armor, I was getting my health whittled away before my very eyes. But even with my health being drained through the power of determination, or just brute force, I eventually made it to Nick Valentine and was able to head to the exit. If these triggermen didn't drop as much 10mm ammo as they did, this place may have been even harder, but without worrying about ammo, I could make sure everyone got a fair dose of bullets. We made it to Skinny Malone and Darla at the end, and since I couldn't talk my way out of this one, I threw out a mine, and to my surprise, it nearly took out everyone. Then we cleaned up Skinny Malone and it was home free. Before continuing, I bought a combat shotgun and did some upgrading. This would prove vital to the run later, but a little behind the scenes to the run so far. Essentially, the perks I used were all just extra damage or damage mitigation, with the power armor being kept filled of fusion cores for the quest involving heavy combat. Guns were also maintained with the gun nut perk to get the extra damage needed for tougher foes. All around, the build could be used in any run and focused on survivability without taking any perks regenerating health. But now, back to the quest. Next up was hunting Kellogg. I made my way to Fort Hagen and started my assault with little life, but the combat shotgun was putting in work, so I wasn't screwed. I took my time and baited out attacks while I learned the placement of enemies, and even got a level up while I was here. I took my time and eventually made it to Kellogg, but a rocket launcher I smuggled in made quick work of him and the synths inside. Mission accomplished. And with that sorted, I was over to steal my mandatory Fat Man and Mini Nuke from Cleo in Good Neighbor. But after a little bit of thievery, I went to Dr. Amari to analyze Kellogg's brain, and then we had to go talk to Virgil in the Glowing Sea. Normally it's a pretty uneventful trip, but this time I got killed by a rad stag and got suplexed by an alpha deathclaw on the way to the Glowing Sea. But then I came back with a Fat Man and missile launcher to set the score straight. Bro, you never stood a chance. Except he did. Oh my god. Stop! Mans is too powerful. Had to be put down. He's not hurting him. He's just vibing. No, that's the thing though. I can't leave. He's literally gonna turn around and punch me in the face. I can't have that. Look, he even had a better pistol than I had. He needed to go. He ate this guy. He hurt him. But the rest of the trip was pretty standard for your radiation trek across the Glowing Sea. Plus, I didn't have to stress about gaining too much radiation as the power armor soaked it up. A little while later, and I met up with Virgil, who told me to go find a courser. So next up was Green Tech Genetics, and this place wasn't actually that bad this time. Since I wasn't moving at lightning speed, it was just a matter of learning where the gunners were and using shotgun rounds and rockets when available. But the gunner private at the end gave me some issues, mainly for the fact that I had almost no health. I have like a health. Now the question is, because that was a terrible quick save, is I'm almost dead as soon as I spawn in. Yikes. Oh no. Oh no. But after I made it past the gunners, it was business as usual with the courser catching a mini nuke to the face. Courser chip in towed, I headed out to get it analyzed. I fought my way through downtown Boston once again and got wrecked in the process, but eventually made it to the railroad and got my chip scanned. Then, after reporting back to Virgil and getting the plans to build a teleporter, I made my way to Sanctuary to build said teleporter. But before heading into the Institute, I went to outfit the castle with artillery. Ronnie and I cleared out the basement while getting blown up by mines occasionally, and I built the gun, making the castle ready for an invasion. To instigate said invasion, I hopped into the teleporter and went to have a chat with Father. This decision was decided for me by the person who suggested the run, so Father never had a say. Once I made it back out, Garvey said that I still needed more settlements, and I could have sworn I was all ready to go by doing the old guns quest, but apparently we needed more help. And honestly, it wasn't too bad. Close quarter fights are always the worst for this kind of run, but if you keep your distance, you can make it through most engagements without getting hit, even while playing with no health to spare. As long as you're mobile, most of the time you can survive most of these fights. But nothing, absolutely nothing could have prepared me for the absolute shit show this next quest was. After I saved a couple more settlements, I went on to stop the invasion at the castle, except whatever weapons and perks they gave the coursers and synth patrollers needs to be fixed. I joke, I'm kidding, but holy shit I got stomped out. The Institute weapons just cut through me with little chance of survival. It got to the point where I was sniping and using stealth boys to move around the castle to avoid dying. And when I was down to literally 1 health point, I built a turret in a hallway hoping it could shoot the coursers. But every time I fixed it, they blew it back up again. There were even times where coursers would just run straight into my area and pre-fire the corners to kill me. This felt like a hardcore Call of Duty match on steroids. The entire fight went on for 2.5 hours, the longest it's ever taken me to clear this. But I just had to learn what the coursers would do and try and act accordingly. Sometimes it would work, and sometimes I would quick save as I was getting shot. I honestly thought this part would be the run ender, as I was almost out of all my ammo, and what little ammo I did have barely tickled these guys. But eventually I sniped a courser on the outskirts of the castle, and the quest updated. I had defended the castle. I had finally won. Well, not quite, but I wasn't too scared of the assault on the Institute at this point, except before I even got in, I was straight up bullied by ghouls and down to my last bit of health before I even beamed the Minutemen in. This place wasn't so bad actually. Slowly push up and allow the Minutemen to throw themselves at the synths. There were some close calls with bad autosaves, but nothing I couldn't get out of, and honestly with how much ammo I had for my laser musket, I could just charge it up all the way for every shot and make sure the enemy went down. Plus I gained a level wall here to make the end a bit easier. Since I still had tons of radiation left to spare, I wasn't even worried about planting the bomb to blow up the Institute, which meant it was a smooth planted run. I yelled at my fake child and then teleported to hit the detonation and end the run. This run wasn't so bad in some parts and an absolute mess in others. Anytime you fight synths in this game, even while wearing power armor, they just tear through your health. A decent ranged weapon and a ton of patience is needed for this run, plus not being like me and quick saving as you're being shot. That helps a lot. But all in all, it was a decent challenge, and for anyone looking to attempt this run, you can make it a little bit easier as you can take the cannibal perk to eat corpses to gain some health back. You can also use a couple regeneration perks to help you passively gain health too. But for the sense of the challenge, since I couldn't heal using items, I figured healing using perks was just as bad. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new. For the next challenge, I'm looking at finishing the game with the Acid Soaker. Apparently it's the worst weapon in the game, so we'll see how we go. As always, if you have a suggestion for a video, make sure to leave it in the comments below. If you want to watch this run as it happens live, make sure to tune into Twitch streams on the weekend. I've been Chris from Krisis Gaming, and I will see you on the next one.